Well, I've got another insanely difficult project to do here. I'm not even sure I can do it, but we're going to attempt it. What we have is a Christmas tree ornament, glass, and as you can see, it's thin. It's like a light bulb. I think it's even thinner than a light bulb. Got some breakage, and there's also a crack that goes almost completely around the rim there that has to be addressed. I told the client that this may not be possible, but I'm going to try. So it's a family heirloom. They want to try to rescue it, and I've got a very difficult task ahead of me here. I have to get all these tiny little flakes of glass put back together somehow. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Also, there are some, can you see this inside here? And that's the remaining flakes of stuff I have left to deal with here. So, as I said, I don't know how far we're going to get with this, but we're going to try. So this crack that goes around the rim starts here in a corner and goes all the way around to about here. And then there's another crack that comes down from here. There's another one here. You may not be able to see these. There's one here, and there's another one up here. So I have to stop all those cracks before I even begin to put these other pieces in place. Maybe. I'm pre-cutting my tape so I can just reach over and grab what I need. So I'm making some little pieces. So I'm going to start putting these pieces in place, and I'm kind of rehearsing how I'm going to do it. It's important that I get these edges aligned because they're so frightfully thin. So what I'm going to do is put my tape on this piece first. And then, because it's a lot easier to do this now than it is to try to get it on there once I have it in place. I've also detacked this tape. I take I reduce the stickiness of it. Okay, so let's get her in place there. I'm rubbing my tape down so it sticks better. I don't want to get it stuck really, really tight. Luckily, it's holding something light, so I don't need a lot of pressure. The idea is I don't want to pull the color off when I pull this tape off. So I got to get a little piece of tape in a really tight spot here. What I have is a crack that goes almost all the way around here, and I don't want that to flex when I'm sticking my tape on up here. And when I tape this little missing piece in place, I don't want this broken piece to flex, so I'm holding that down. Okay. Get this alignment a little better right here. Okay, I have this little hard to get in here. And it goes right here. But it's a tiny little thing. This stuff is so delicate, I'm afraid to break each piece just putting a piece of tape on it. But again, luckily I don't have to press down very hard. Now, I need to get this piece in place, and the way I'm going to do that is I have this glue stick. It looks like chapstick on it. It's glue for paper products and things. I'm going to put a little bit of that on a toothpick. Hopefully just enough to make this stick to it. While I put it in place. And it's not sticking too good. It's so easy to knock it off of there. And I've got to move my tape. Pause. So my glue stick stuff isn't working too well, so I'm just going to stick it on the tape. And I moved the tape because it was in the way. Go ahead and fill. I've got this little point right here is sticking up proud. So I'm going to tape that down. Okay, so I have my rubber tipped tweezers. You can't buy these. I had to make these. I use that, there's the stuff you can buy that you dip your tools in, or things you can put a plastic coating on it. That's what I use to make this. It's my little, it's for grabbing little pieces of glass and ceramics, because you try to grab them with the tweezers and they just pop right out. So I made these little rubber tipped ones here. So let's see if I can get her in place here. Okay. Alright, so hopefully you can't see the cracks anymore. Or maybe you can. But anyway, so I have a problem here. This stuff is super, super thin. And normally I'll heat up my glass, my objects I'm going to put Hexall on. I heat them in the hot box for 150 degrees. And that helps when I put the Hexall on the crack. It helps it wick into the crack and spread. The problem here isn't going to be so much as penetration or any of that stuff, but I do need to have it as thin as possible. And if this is hot, when I put the Hexall on it, it will thin and spread as I need it. The problem is, if I put this in the hot box, it's so thin and it's cold as heck outside today. If I take it out of the hot box, which is out in my shop outside in another building, with no heat. So if I take this out of the hot box into that cold air, it could potentially just shatter from thermal shock right in my hands. And then now I have a whole lot of broken pieces to deal with. So what do? It's very, very thin glass, so I'm going to just heat it with a hairdryer. And I can just work locally and slowly bring this up to speed, up to heat, and just in an area I need it. And then I'll just put some Hexall, which I've already had made, mixed and stirred, and I'll just be able to touch it. And I'm not going to put the Hexall in all the cracks on this application. I'm just going to put little bits of it here and there to tack it, and that'll hold it in place so that once that's firm, I can put this in the hot box, heat it up, and right in the hot box, just open the door and put some Hexall right on these, and I know the pieces aren't going to move around on me when I do that. So I hope that's clear what my intentions are. Basically, tack little pieces of spots of Hexall in place to get it to stay in place, get the pieces to be stationary where they won't move when I do go around all the cracks, and they won't move. That's the plan. We'll see if it works. Okay, it's going to get noisy now. I'm going to turn off the sound and heat this. Okay, let's see if we can get a spot on there real quick.
Your hands in the way.
Can you see?
That's better.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay away from these markers. I put some dots on there. I'm going to heat it some more. Let's see if I can get them to run into the cracks. Alright, so I'm going to just put a couple more dots on this side. There's this crack that goes all the way around the rim. I'm just putting these on here to help stabilize it. So this is Q-tips. A little bit of rubbing alcohol. You don't want so much alcohol on it that it's going to flood the area. And you have to be careful to see the colors coming off. So there's not even any alcohol on this part. It's just the coming off with the Hexall. So I'm dipping my Q-tip and I'm wiping it on a paper towel so I don't want this to squeeze alcohol out and run into the crack. I also don't want to move these pieces out of alignment. So I'll just go around and do this to all of these. So now I'm going to try to get some glue on this rim here. I have some Hexall I mixed a couple days ago. It's fairly thick right now, which is just what I need. I have a razor thin edge here. I'm trying to get this on. Can you see this? Let's see how thick it is. Alright, that's the state of my Hexall. Wind up that little hair. Alright, so I've got a little bit of an edge here. I gotta get this stuff on there. A tiny edge right here. Same thing on the other side. Trying to get some of this without getting it on there too thickly. I want to get it on that exposed edge. Luckily I've got all this crystallized stuff on the outside. It looks like sugar. It's going to hide a lot of this Hexall load. And now I got to get some of this right on the edge of that. Now, luckily with Hexall we have plenty of working time. I don't have to worry about that setting up on me while I'm trying to work on this, because this could go quickly or this could take a while, and I'm hoping I can get this all on here without too much trouble. I've rehearsed this fit and I've been able to do it. So what I have is this rim. I just glued there's 3 pieces glued together here. You can see the tape. I won't be able to get this tape off because it'll be underneath this lip. But you can't see it from the other side, so I'm going to have to leave it on there. It's the only thing I can do to hold that together. So now, I've got all this area between here and here. There's missing material that does not mate up with this piece. Alright, so whoops. So I'll get it on this side. Hold that in place. Start working on the other side. The trick is to get them to connect on the ends and onto the rim that's right below that, and I have just done that. Whew, talk about lucky. I'm doing some micro adjusting here. So what I'm going to do is put this on a shelf to let it set up, but I have to check it periodically throughout the rest of the day. I think I'm going to put a piece of tape on this right here. It's moving around on me. And it's like trying to tape it to a bunch of sugar. But I don't need a very good grip. I just need enough to keep it from slipping out of position. And I've got it done on the other side. So now the idea is to put this now on a shelf where it can just sit. Today's Friday, so this will sit on a shelf for the weekend. And by Monday, I will be able to continue curing this by putting it in the hot box. I will have to keep checking this for the rest of the day while this starts to set up. And I might be able to still nudge it tomorrow morning if I have to. Let's hope I don't. So I need to put this on a shelf where I can visually inspect it without touching it, and then adjust it if I need to without moving the object. This is a hairy job. I do not mind telling you. Alright, I'm going to put some more Hexall on here. I found a couple of shards I can put in place. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. I don't have a lot left to work with. I don't have enough to fill this gap. But we'll put the glue on there and do the best we can. This Hexall's pert near about the end of its usefulness here. It's really sticky and stringy. If it wasn't for the tininess of these shards, I wouldn't trust this. Okay. So I have this piece here. I'll work it in there. Just barely hanging on here. Right on the edge of that. And luckily with all this granulation here, it's going to hide the joint. So I've put some more Hexall on this side. I've got this tiny fragment I'm going to place in there. Nudge it into place. And that's that. I have one more little morsel. See if I can get that in here. Golly. So now I only have a little spot about yay big missing out of here. This is pretty good. And then, can you see down in here? That gap. Can you see that? Alright. Now there's a gap between the edge of this space right here, right about where it breaks on the inside. And for about 1/8 of an inch, there's a spot about this long, about 1/8 of an inch, that's completely missing. Let me see if I can show you. You see under there? So that's what's missing. I have to try to fill that with something. And I have an idea. I'll show you that in the next clip. Meanwhile, I'm going to put this on the shelf for this to cure. It'll be a couple days. Alright, I had a piece that went from here to here that slumped and almost glued itself into the wrong position, so I had to pull it off and try to rebond it. And I have another little shard I want to try to get in here too. I hope I will be able to do this. Here. Alright, this is a tip. Might help you. This is a glue stick. It's kind of like, looks like chapstick, only it's a glue stick for gluing paper and photographs and things like that. Get a little bit of this on the end of a toothpick. This is for picking up really tiny parts that you might not be able to grab with a toothpick. I mean, with a tweezers, but a toothpick might do it. So. I'm hoping if I can hold it in place long enough, it'll cure in that position. I have to let that go. And then I've got this little other piece to get in there. I don't think it's going to fit, but we'll see. But I won't be able to.
Go.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this little piece into this hole here. Nothing I can do but wait, and because I have to wait until this solidifies, cures. Alright, so I have warmed this up in the hot box, and I need to trace my crack lines. Where'd it go? Alright, I'll work on this side. So I'm using this small point here. I don't want to get too much Hexall on here. Keep it from running all over the place. I'm just going to trace these crack lines, which, if you'll remember, I only tacked them in place earlier. And now that those spots are cured, it's not going to move around on me while I'm doing this. And I'm doing this very light application because when I wipe this, I don't want to smear it all over the place. Okay, I want to show you this product that I use very seldomly, but you know, when you need this stuff, I don't know anything else that can work like it does. It's a light sensitive curing resin, so I'm careful not to call it a bonding agent. It's not really an adhesive, okay? But you can use it as one occasionally. But in this instance, we're going to use it as a fill. And I'm going to show you how it works. So it comes in this nice little carrying case. And it's a little expensive. It's probably about $25 for this. And you get 2 of these resin containers with it, and so you have a UV light and the resin, and it works like this. So you squeeze out a little, focus on the tip of this. So I can put a dot here on the end of this toothpick with this resin, all right, and then cure it with this light. It takes about 4 seconds for that to cure. Now that's done. Now I can build up dots on this. As you can see, it's growing. And it's quite strong, and I can use it for a fill. Pretty handy stuff. And I'm going to use it on this never mind. Cut. And I've seen people use it like this. You can actually build it, cure it as you're working on it. I mean, it's really weird how you can build that up. There's a piece cured on the end there. Bizarre how this stuff works. But as you can see, you could fill some unusual, tricky places with this stuff. Now that's, you know, that's hard. That's weak because it's so thin, but that's hard already. Interesting stuff. Okay, so that's Bondic is the name of this product. And if you want to know more about it, look it up online. B-O-N-D-I-C, Bondic. You'll learn more about it by looking it up than I'm willing to tell you right now. Okay. So I'm using the Bondic on here to fill this gap. And it's a tedious operation. Could take a while, but it's sort of working. So put a drop or two on there and cure it with the light. Put another one. Cure it with the light. And hopefully I may be able to file this a little bit when I'm done. Alright, I've got some day-old Hexall here. I'm going to try to get this last chip in place. So I've got some glue stick on my toothpick to pick up this chip and nudge it into place. Okay. So we're in the final stages of this repair, and I'm just now going to paint in these clear spots where there was Hexall that got scraped off or wiped off and the finish came off with it. This is also going to be the bottom of it, so we don't need to do a whole lot of fancy perfectly blending here. It's not going to be really pretty. There's nothing we can do with this glass. This is a paint on here. It wipes off easily. I just want to make these clear sections green so that you don't notice them as much. The customer is going to be delighted that they even got this thing whole again. So that was the agreement. I told them when I took the job that I wasn't even sure I could do it. So I've gone ahead and mixed my Golden's acrylic paint with some of their Golden's high flow medium. This is for thinning colors and making transparent colors. And that's what I'm using mixed with this green to make this a transparent paint. So here we go. I'll bring in some of this, and I just want to try not to put paint where there already is green. And I'll just do it a little bit at a time. And then I'll dry that with a hairbrush, with a with a hair dryer, and repeat the process as many times as it takes to fill this. I can't really pile it on there very much. I'm trying to be subtle with this. So now I'll just run the hair dryer on it very quickly. It dries very fast. Okay, so I'm going to put a matte finish over what I just painted on that globe, on that ornament. And I'm using this stuff. It's got a porcelain restoration glaze. They no longer make this stuff. Golden's no longer makes this stuff. I have this, oops, I have this canister here. This is probably a lifetime supply for me, the rest of my life anyway. You could try getting this from them. Contact Golden's. They may have still some on the shelf. They don't make it anymore. But they told me that if I wanted to get this again, they would mix it for me, make me a custom order, but I'd have to buy a gallon. And that, I think, would be very expensive. And that would be way more than I ever will need. But anyway, that's what I'm using. And it's very thick. I have also, this comes in gloss or matte. I'm using the matte. So I'll take some of this out of here, put it in a beaker. And then I'll add this stuff. This is Golden's Airbrush Medium. So you can use this with their thicker colors to make it able to spray through an airbrush. And that's why I use it. So I'm going to put a 20 drops of this in there and mix this. And you just want to stir it until you don't see any lumps in it. You can hold it up to the light and it's easier to see the lumps in it. Alright, got my matte finish mixed, and I'm going to spray it on top of here. This will protect what I just sprayed down, and it'll take the sheen off it. Make it a matte finish. That helps even that paint up. Okay, a little bit more here. Painting all the areas I put any kind of finish on. This will make it all matte. There we go. So, that's what the bottom looks like now. And again, you won't even see it once it's hanging for display. I think it's pretty close to miraculous that I actually got this back together.